Hello, everyone, and welcome to the VeryReasonablePilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles. Along with me, as always, my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Gloth. How you doing today, Jacob?
I am swell, Charles. I'm excited because... Why am I excited, Charlie? Tell me.
I don't know. What's he excited about?
Do you remember what you told me I had to pitch last week?
Yeah, I know. I'm excited, too. It's right. It's going. We're doing
right.
it. Res Publica.
Wait.
Season 4? 3?
No. It was stamp of approval, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. You're not doing Res Publica.
I am doing Res Publica Season 4. It's here. There may be a disappointment at the end because there might be more seasons, but we'll get to that. Okay, Res Publica. Do you remember where we left off, Charlie? Because it's been been more than a year at this point.
It's been well over a year. I have no idea. Roman times. There were a bunch of dead people. That's what I remember.
Okay, if just to wind the clock back to last year, for everyone that is not listening to this episode right after season 3 of Res Publica, basically, we've been following the rise of this guy, Marius, for a long time. We watched him become, this little army soldier from the outskirts of Rome to the third founder of Rome, to the consul, the highest office. He's been elected to it more times than anyone else. He's, the biggest man that ever was. Everyone loves him. He's great, amazing. And also his sort of understudy, who's now kind of eclipsing him, or not eclipsing him, but like on the verge of, trying to steal the spotlight, is Sulla. So those are the two principal characters that you'll have to remember from the last season: is Marius, the big man, and Sulla, the young little upstart that's starting to try to peek out the shadow of his much more illustrious mentor.
All right, Sulla, Marius. I can remember those two names.
You can, yes.
I'm gonna say that Marius looks like Josh Brolin, and Sulla looks like Lupita Nyong'o.
I don't know who that is.
She's in a bunch of stuff. She's in Black Panther and 12 Years a Slave.
Sulla's a guy.
I know, but I don't know why. In my mind, that's what Sulla looks like.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, anyway. Okay, so we're starting basically where we left off. So the last show ended with Marius getting a huge victory over the Cimbri, which was this tribe invading from the north that had hundreds of thousands of people. And basically every Roman general that went to attack them before just made they would have more men, or they'd have good tactics, but they would just make catastrophic stupid mistakes. They would just walk into an ambush like an idiot. And Marius is the only guy that does something sensible, and he manages to defeat them with the help of Sulla and another guy named Catullus. Though Sulla and Catullus kind of made mistakes in that battle, and Marius is the only reason they won it. So Marius wins the battle. Everyone in Rome loves him. It's great. We open this season with the cheering crowds loving Marius. We see him, enjoying all the cheers and the shouts, and then hard cut to an older Marius. So the Marius we see in the crowds is probably late 40s maybe. Now we're seeing Marius, 60. He's a lot grayer, a lot more tired, worn out eyes, and instead of in front of a crowd, he's in front of the Senate, bored out of his mind, listening to people, talking and arguing pointless things that he's not, Marius is a warrior. He's not much of a politician. I mean, he's a good politician, but he's not in it for that. So
he doesn't care for it.
Sad little bored face.
He's like Kevin
probably a
Costner
match
in
cut from the last shot of his
He's just
face.
it's part of it,
And he's trying to get a land grant for his veterans. So all the veterans that just fought with him in that huge battle that we had last season to end the show, he's still trying to get them land, and the Senate is just not passing it through. I mean, he thinks these people saved Rome; they deserve some land to help them out. If they protected this land, they conquered this land, they deserve it.
They deserve at least a little bit. Give them a little taste,
And it's customary, if If you're a soldier, you fight for Rome, you do a lot of good work, your general gets you land. But the Senate's kind of blocking it up, so they're being a little shaky because they're jealous, We're going to see all these jealous senators around Marius, as he's just, like, bored trying to get this bill passed, but, all these little, like, weaselly-faced guys are just trying to block him up because they don't like him.
Yeah.
So, Marius in the Senate House, not having a good time. He, as he's walking out, he runs into Sulla, who Sulla is, he's got more sway with the senators, as we mentioned in the last show. He's more of like a man of the upper classes than Marius is. So he's got a bit more sway, and so Marius goes to Sulla as they're leaving the Senate House. Everyone's pulling out, going to lunch or something, I don't know. And he goes up to Sulla and he's like, hey, I need your help with this. Like, I need to get this bill passed for my veterans. I can support you in your upcoming election if you back me up. Sulla, a little pompous, just sort of ignores Marius, and he's like, I don't really need your help, but whatever.
Yeah.
You're the consul, You use some of your sway, you can get your own bill passed. Sulla, by the way, is currently running for a governorship. He's a little broke, Sulla, so he's trying to raise some money as a governor. So as he gets rejected by Sulla, Marius is kind of feeling like we're going to see like him talking to a couple more, high-profile senators, and everyone's just shooting him down, with really wishy-washy things. Like, oh, yeah, no, definitely, I'll help you out. Hey, we're going to go grab lunch, though, so bye. So not going well. And that's when we see this very slimy, very, what is it? What's the guy from Game of Thrones? Peter Baelish. Very,
Peter Baelish, Littlefinger-esque.
Little sketchy kind of guy. That is Saturnius.
Yeah.
Saturnius is going to come up and be like, hey, Marius, I see you're trying to get some support. I think you're going about it the wrong way. You got to stop trying to get the Senate's vote. You just got to worry about the masses. That's all that matters is the people. And he's a bit of a sweet talker. Marius kind of seems like he's playing like the sort of hopeless fool. You're like, okay, Marius is kind of clearly not a shrewd operator. He's just going with this guy's sort of honeyed words. This dude wants, in exchange for Marius's endorsement for the tribune, which is this role in the Roman government that basically means you're like the Speaker of the House, if you were to compare it to the U.S. government. Like you got a lot of sway. You can control a lot. You can get some bills up for passing. It's kind of a way to circumvent the Senate's authority. With
people
like
know your
vote.
name.
Yeah, it's a very powerful position. Senators. If he gets it, he can probably get Marius's bill passed. Is the idea?
Oh.
So he's like, hey, you get me elected to this office, you endorse me, you get all your veterans to vote for me, then I'll pass your bill. Marius is very reluctant because he knows what kind of guy Saturnius is. He's a bit of a thug, He gets guys in the street to beat people up to get him to win elections. He's not a reputable man. And Marius
like
is
you.
like, he kind of, yeah, exactly like me. So Marius, he's not really sure about this, and so he's walking away. Just not really sure. And that's when another guy comes up, Drusus. You're going to need to remember Drusus. He just sort of gets introed here. He's trying to run up and talk to Marius, but Saturnius blocks him away. Drusus is a very young, probably like 19, 20 politician who's like up and coming, very talented.
A 1920s
like,
politician?
Yeah, no, like 1920 in age.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
he's a time traveler.
Picture him like, he's like Timothy Chalamet, someone who's very like kind of frail and thin, but good looking, probably a good speaker as well. And so he's trying to talk to Marius, but it's not really working out because he's also trying to run for tribune. Man,
he's 19.
Yeah, he's
trying to become.
I think he's a bit older in actual real history, but I'm making him younger because it plays better with the age dynamics for this. So he gets rejected by Marius, and then after he's sort of like walking out, like trying to figure out what he's gonna, he really needs to get this election to sort of spark his political career, but he can't even speak with Marius, who's like the one guy who could probably get him this like the popular vote, because Marius is very popular among the people, not popular with the Senate, and you need the people vote for the tribune. And as he's walking out, we're following Drusus. He meets up with a guy named Silo, who is like the head of sort of this big Italian tribe doesn't have votes, and Silo is like just pleading with random people at like random politicians as they're walking out of the forum, and Drusus is the only one that talks to him. He's like, why are you like petitioning every person that walks out here? And Silo explains that he's the leader of this tribe called the Marsi, who are they want votes, like they want to be able to vote. So currently only the people in Rome can vote in for like positions and such, and can run for election and have rights to avoid getting sued and stuff. Like basically you can throw anyone that's not Roman into jail for really any reason at all. But if you're Roman, you have like a right to a trial and such. The Italian people want that right.
To an attorney.
Essentially, yeah. The Italian people want those rights. There's some benefits of being in the Italian, sort of like in the Italian rights rather than the Roman rights, which is like you don't really have to pay taxes.
The food is much better.
So no taxes.
In the Italian prisons. Oh my god.
There's a lot of downsides too.
Pizza pasta.
So he's trying to get rights for his people. He wants to vote. And Drusus, he sees this as an opportunity. He's like, okay, if I can get your backing, that might help my political career. So yeah, you know what? I'll be your voice in the Senate and in like Roman politics. I'll back you. I'll see if I can get the Italian people, enfranchisement. So
sounds like a pretty cool thing of Drusus to do.
As we're going through the rest of the episode, Marius is continually trying to talk with different people, still trying to talk with Sulla, still trying to talk with different politicians. Nothing is working. And eventually, at the end of the episode, he's going to decide, like, fuck it, I'm just going to go with Saturnius. I know he's a bit of a shady guy, but, I've dealt with a lot of shady characters. I can keep him on a leash,
Yeah.
So we see Marius giving a speech for Saturnius' campaign, and we're intercutting it with Saturnius' gangs going through the city, beating up, other people's voter groups, smashing shit, beating up other candidates.
Yeah.
And also talking with Marius' veterans. So Marius' veterans are like, they're not a gang, but they're probably the toughest force in the city. All these, really grisly, tough dudes who are just waiting around for their land grants. So now they're supplementing his gang forces. So now he's got a really tough gang that's going through the streets of Rome.
Cool. All right. So Marius, he's teamed up with this guy, and they're not good. It's no good.
No good.
But he's getting the support from some people, not from others. I don't know why. I guess it's just hard for me to imagine Roman times because it's I haven't seen the show Rome. Actually what would happen. So I'm just kind of in my head when I'm picturing all this stuff. It's all 1930s politicians and
oh my god, okay,
all this stuff, but they're all in togas.
Yeah.
So I'm just imagining him going to a nice Italian restaurant and Marius sitting down and the kind of slumlord politician who wants to be part of the tribunal coming up, hey, come here, giving him a kiss on the cheek and getting him wine and stuff from an Italian restaurant, but they're all just in togas with the sandals and everything.
Yeah.
Also, Michael Keaton for Marius. I think Michael Keaton would make a great Marius.
Wow. My initial thought was we had I would think Russell Crowe, Gladiator Russell Crowe would be great for Marius before this season, and then Russell Crowe right now is great for Marius right now.
Well, we could also, something that would be cool is maybe you make Marius, you cast a different actor for each season, because each season Marius is in a different phase of his life. And that could
I think that would be really confusing,
cool.
But
it would also be incredibly
really
confusing
for the audience. They'd be like, "Who is this?" The names are already very complicated. I think they're cool names, but they are complicated.
I like them. Yeah.
So I could see people getting confused, and it's going to get really confusing later in the season when there's a lot of different Caesars, and none of them are the Caesar.
none of them are the Caesar that we know, the famous Caesar.
Yeah, they're all related to him, but they're all named Caesar. So, okay. Episode 2. It's election day. Everyone's voting. They got, they got like little pots they're dropping their votes in. But fucking Marius's veterans and the gangs, they're all there as well, and they're fucking pressuring people, grabbing them and essentially forcing them to vote, because it's not an anonymous vote. Everyone knows who you voted for, so you're gonna get fucked up if you vote for the wrong guy in this election.
Guys standing outside the ballot box. Their version of a ballot box was just like a billy club, just waiting for any fucker who decides to go into the wrong room and cast the wrong vote.
Yeah. And Saturnius obviously wins, and almost immediate, literally he wins the election and then immediately holds a session, and he starts passing extremely controversial reforms. So we're going to sort of cut between him passing the reforms and the reaction from the Senate House, basically people losing their minds. You might remember some of these names. We have Metellus, Numidicus, and Scarsus. These are essentially the bigwigs. These are the old house Senate figures who kind of looked down at Marius for a while, but also helped him in the very beginning of his career. But very much have looked down at him for the rest of his career. They see themselves as the elder statesmen who really know how the republic should be run, and all these young whippersnappers are trying to mess with their stuff.
They're the Mitch McConnells of ancient Rome.
Maybe less. Maybe a bit more. They mean well for Rome, I think. They're very selfish like everyone else.
Mitch McConnell doesn't mean well.
Iscarsus, he wants to preserve the old republic values, and he doesn't like these quick rising politicians like Marius.
That makes sense.
He doesn't like charismatic young leaders. He wants everyone to just be boring, kind of, and listen.
Lame.
He also doesn't really like military, people that rise exponentially because of their military success and have big popular audiences. The people of Rome love them. He finds that dangerous because everyone in Rome is basically afraid of a king. So everyone's if you get too powerful, everyone's going to tear you down because they're afraid of a king.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm scared of kings. So,
Saturnius wins, cutting back and forth between his reforms. Now we also have two other people that were supposed to be elected. Drusus loses his, so poor Drusus. He's just sort of moping around and has to go to explain to Sulla that he didn't win, but they can try. He'll try to get a better coalition next time to see if he can get Italian rights. And Sulla is not happy about this, and he wants Drusus to keep pushing, because he's talking about how the people in the Italian countryside are getting restless about this. People are getting arrested. Maybe we could even open this whole episode with some Roman governor who just won his election, just going out and fucking oppressing the Italian people, grabbing crazy taxes and, throwing them in court for no reason, or in jail for no reason, without a trial or court or anything. But so he's not happy. But who also lost their election was Sulla. Surprisingly, shock loss. Mr. Starboy himself loses his election, doesn't win the governorship, which should have been probably easy. And we'll see, Saturnius is basically the reason that he didn't win the election. He's spreading rumors amongst the people, hey, if he wins this governorship, he's going to leave Rome. Sulla, he's got a lot of connections in Africa. He could throw some really great games if he stays in Rome. So Sulla fucking pissed off in the bar when he learns about this, and he's like, you know what? Fuck it, all right? They want me to throw some fucking games? I'll throw some fucking games. And he's writing letters to his buddies in Africa, I need all the elephants, I need all the fucking lions, I need everything you got, because we're going to have the best games anyone ever had.
That's a really interesting thing, that he sabotaged Sulla's political career with compliments. Because usually it would be if, Sulla wins, it's going to be, real bad. He's going to kick up taxes. He's going to all this stuff. But he's sabotaged it with, like, isn't Sulla so great? That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Is that
he wants him to get into a lesser position.
Yeah.
Yeah, which the people will want him to be in because he's got all these great connections to make the best games ever, you know?
Uh-huh.
You might remember from the previous season, Sulla he was one of the primary reasons that they won this war in Africa for Numidia. He's best friends with the king of Numidia. So
yeah,
he's got this great connection. Everyone knows this, so they're trying to get him to throw all these great games. So while that's happening as well, Saturnius, he basically replaces the entire court system with people that are loyal to him. So all the judges and everybody are now people that are loyal to him, and he starts prosecuting senators like crazy for like just random shit, essentially.
And how is Marius dealing with
Marius is
he said he could keep this.
He seems like he's losing control of Saturnius. Like we'll be having scenes with like him and like senators coming up to him like, Marius, this is ridiculous. Like we can't be. He's they're charging us with corruption. I mean, yes, we're all corrupt, but we're all corrupt. You know, you can't be fucking throwing us under the bus for this.
Cherry picking. Well, we don't have cherries because this is ancient Rome, but I don't know, olive picking. Your only corrupt senators, right?
Yeah.
You gotta, what the hell?
This is fucking stupid. And even people that like are not corrupt at all are getting thrown under the bus. So we'll have a nice scene where Saturnius is finally going to pass his land grant, and Saturnius plays this clever move because he knows that basically as soon as he loses power, all the senators are going to. But we'll probably have him talking like with Marius about this in like a underground bar or something. And he's like, okay, so what we need to do is we can't just pass your land grant because it's possible that once I lose power at the end of the year, these senators will just go back on it. They'll just throw away the land grant. So what we need to do is we need to force all the senators to swear an oath saying that they won't go back on this land grant. And if you say no to the oath, we'll exile you.
Okay.
And Marius is hesitant about this, and he's like, here's the thing, though, because they're not going to, if you say no to this, it's going to fall apart. But if you say yes, it also could fall apart. So what you have to do is you have to be saying that you're not going to swear this oath, that you're against this idea, you don't want to force the senators to swear this oath. And we're going to be seeing this happen as he's, like, explaining the plan, sort of heist style.
Yeah.
And he's like, but
Edgar
at the last
Wright
second,
style, yeah.
right before, the oath ceremony is about to go, you're going to have a sudden change of mind, and you're going to say, you know what, actually, I'm going to go swear that oath. I think it's fine. And all the senators will have a split second to decide whether or not they're going to go into exile or they're going to swear this oath. And so it'll be too late.
Yeah.
And we'll see every senator get up and follow Marius, like, hesitantly, this is our only choice. It's either this or we're exiled from Rome. And exiled from Rome, I mean, that's basically death. They will, instead of killing you in Rome, they will often just exile you as a citizen, because that's basically the same as death, because you're just out of politics, you're out of the game. There's no point to you anymore. And there's only one guy that doesn't swear the oath. Even Scarsus, the famous politician, the head of the most sort of old-timey faction, he goes and swears the oath. But one of his biggest backers, the guy that has like the most control over the clan that they have, that's like sort of the block of votes, Metellus Numidicus, he refuses. He says, no, like I'm not playing by these stupid games by this young upstart guy who just got his first tribunate. He thinks he can control us. I'm not going to do it. And he takes the exile.
Mm-hmm. Damn.
And immediately Saturnius passes a law that says that no one's allowed to offer him food or water. Everyone just has to fucking ignore him. He's exiled. He can't come back to Rome ever.
Damn.
So not the most.
We really should. We should bring back exile as a punishment.
It's pretty funny. Exile in Rome is like you just like can't talk to anyone else anymore. It's like it's very weird.
That fucking blows, dude. Just go somewhere else. Move to the UK. Go to a fish and chip shop. It's fine.
So now we're kind of getting a feeling that Marius is being hopelessly strung along, obviously, by this. And then it's reaching its height now because Marius's his term as consul is coming to an end, and he doesn't really have control of the situation anymore. And so after the senators swear the oath, they're trying to they're all meeting and they're trying Scarsus is leading the group, Sulla's there. They're trying to figure out what are we gonna do? How are we gonna beat this faction? And somebody's like, well, Marius will be out of the consulship soon, and we can put up our own guy, and then that'll help. And some of this, Sulla thinks that's a good idea. Most people think that's a good idea. Scarsus is the only one that's like, that is not a good idea, because you might think it's bad now with Marius in charge, but if Saturnius gets his own lackey in charge that's not Marius, it's going to be much worse, because at least Marius has some dignity to him. We could at least persuade Marius. If they just get some dude that Saturnius wants in charge, it's going to be bad, because essentially Saturnius is in charge of the legislature right now, and Marius is in charge of the sort of executive branch of Rome. And once with Saturnius as in charge of both, they're kind of fucked. So
you're absolutely screwed.
We're gearing up for the election, and the next day, Saturnius announces his buddy Galatia as as the next consul. He's like, okay, we're gonna be back in Galatia. He's gonna take the spot. People of Rome. Once he's in charge, everything will be great. We'll be giving out food to everybody. It's gonna be amazing. And Marius is kind of just sort of on the back foot here, and then Scarsus is going to come to him and plead and be like, Marius, you got to do something about this. We can't let Galatia win. Technically, Galatia can't be running because he has this other position which disqualifies him. So all you got to do is just disqualify him from running, and we'll be okay. Marius is pretty hesitant about this, but he signs the order, and we'll get, Saturnius and Galatia will get word of this at a canvassing event. And they'll have sort of a Wolf of Wall Street, I'm not fucking leaving, and they continue. They're like, we're gonna continue canvassing for votes. We'll just win the election. What are they gonna do when he wins the election? It doesn't matter. We got disqualified, and they keep canvassing. And we have election day at the end of this episode, and the main people going up, or the main people in this in the running are Galatia and. We have a senatorial candidate who doesn't matter, and then Marius, who's another sort of popular candidate, but he's not as crazy as Galatia. He's not, he's not loyal to Saturnius. So he's kind of leading in the polls, and Saturnius sees this, and he's like, I don't know how this fucking dude's leading. We got to do something about this. And on election day, as the votes are coming in, and Marius is in the lead, before he can win the election, Saturnius just unleashes his gangs, and they just beat the shit out of him and kill him in front of everyone in the forum.
Oh, man, that's crazy.
And then they smash all the urns and destroy the votes. Marius immediately calls an emergency session of the Senate. So now him and all the senators are in a big room. They're all yelling and screaming. And Scarsus stands up and gets everyone to quiet down. And he tells Marius, we're going to give you... basically a complete authority to do whatever you need to do to regain control of the city and the situation. And so Marius, he's been buddies with Saturnius this whole time. He disqualified his big candidate. Now he's going fully turning his back to Saturnius at the end of this episode. He grabs all of his veterans, tells them fuck, get out of these gangs. You're with me now. And we have this big epic street fight in the middle of Rome. And it ends up, Saturnius flees to the forum, and he takes the forum with his gangs, and we have this sort of skirmishes between Marius's veterans who are now surrounding the forum, and Saturnius who's inside with all of his guys. But Marius, he's a commander. He's done this many times. He just sort of has his guys sit back, and they cut the aqueducts going into the forum, and they just start starving out the dudes on the inside.
Smart.
And so at the end of the day at night, Saturnius finally gives up, and he's like, okay, we'll surrender. Marius' guys come in, they start taking him away, they start putting him in cells, and that night, at the end of the episode, a crowd breaks in to Saturnius' cell and stones him to death.
It would be... Now, I have a question.
Yes.
And this is a bit of poetic symmetry. It would be. Do they use stones to vote? Or is that just Greece? Because I know ancient Greece, when they democratic elections, they would do a stone. And you put the stone to represent which candidate you wanted.
I think
right?
it's some sort of rock-like thing. I don't remember.
So I think it would be really cool if they stone him to death with the stones that they voted with. You know?
Yeah.
Like, they voted him in with these stones, and now they're killing him. What has brought him his, greatest joy and power in his life also leads to his death, you know?
Yeah.
I think that would be a cool little bit of symmetry. And we could do it like, they just have a box of the stones in the prison, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what the people just grab whatever's closest, and they just start hucking them, you know?
Yeah.
But that was cool. That would be cool,
I like that. I like that. That's good. Now, obviously, that was a lot. I'm gonna run through the rest now, because it's gonna get. So that's sort of the big arc of the first 2 episodes.
Half of the season.
This the end of Marius's consulship, where things start to go. Things get a little rough, and he has like a bloody, sort of not very illustrious end to his last, sort of stint in charge before he retires and becomes sort of an elder statesman like Scarsus and everybody else. Episode 3 is going to focus a lot more on Drusus and Sulla. So Drusus, we'll have Marius, obviously. He's retiring. He's buying like a villa. He's sort of chilling out. He's getting somewhat used to like retired life, but it's clear he doesn't really like it. Like he seems kind of like sad, getting out of the limelight. But we're mainly going to be focusing on the young boys here. Sulla heading into his prime. Drusus, in the very early shoots of his career. Drusus is going to win the election in the wake of the Saturnius's madness. And he's going to start. He's going to start trying to build this coalition so that he can get Italians citizenship. It's not entirely. I just want to say this. His reasoning is not entirely like altruistic for giving them citizenship. He just sees this as like a way to help his career. Like he kind of does care, but also he sees this as like this is his big platform.
But it's a political move first.
Yeah. And Sulla, he lost his election, as you remember. He held the games now, and now he's a little. With all that just happened in Rome, he's a little sort of disenchanted about the way things are going on right now, and he feels like he needs to wait for this political situation to cool down. So he takes like an ambassador mission to Asia, where he helps to. This would be like a very cool, sort of like getting out of Rome, traveling a little bit. He'll be on a ship, hanging out with crew members.
Yes. Seeing the world.
Yeah. He's going to get to Asia, and he's going to meet with this king named Mithridates, who's fighting these other king in Asia, and he's sort of like the Roman ambassador that's going to negotiate and try to figure out an end to this conflict. And he's playing some games. The Persian emissary gets there, or the Parthian emissary gets there, and he sets up like the chairs in a way. He does this in real life.